What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So we just got the data download for the brand new end of month batch with the legend Nami that we see right here, as well as the Yamato character. We will get the information tonight in regards to the structure of the Sugo Fest, what characters are going to be available, and the official announcement of PKA and all the other game modes. So I'll likely make a separate video tonight when we get the information in regards to all of the upcoming events, especially if there's anything crazy in there. Probably not, but we'll see. But on top of this, we actually got the official information in regards to the rare recruits of the batch, so it's going to be interesting to go ahead and break these characters down. Before we do that though, I want to just have a look at the brief information that we have from our data miner, Tushanks, who has gone ahead and data mined the next metal exchange shop. So because of the fact that this upcoming batch is a summertime release, lo and behold, we have a bunch of summertime characters previously released in the Metal Exchange. So just to have a brief look at this, you got some pretty bad ones here. We do have this Vivi, who has a pretty interesting support, which can allow you to get a free spirit color affinity boost, which is pretty neat. These ones here are all very good. You have the Hina, the Makino, and the Tashigi. I would say if you have like a bunch of Sugo medals from the anniversary period, then this is a good opportunity to pick up these three characters, all of which have fantastic supports that have seen play in the past. This Chopper, by the way, I would probably advise to pick this guy up as well, because he does have a support that reduces your HP when you reach the final stage, which can be pretty useful to get around stun debuff. You got V1 Rayleigh. If you guys don't have him yet, especially if you're a new player coming in throughout the anniversary and you don't have Rayleigh yet, this is a great opportunity to go ahead and get him. The rest of the characters are kind of like whatever. Because the fact that we're in the summertime celebration, a lot of people have had theories in regards to what the next super evolution could be. Whether it be the summertime Reiju legend, summertime VV, potentially Shirahoshi and Manchuri. None of the Shirahoshi and Manchuri legends have had a super evolution yet, so that is also relatively possible, so we'll have to wait and see. And for some reason, Memories of Straw Hat Zoro is boosted. Okay, pretty weird metal exchange. Alright, let's have a look. We have the Assault Rumble season, which is going to be starting very shortly. It looks like it's going to be starting on the 29th of June. And for this one, we have Nami, Yamato, and Otama, Perona, and Ulti, just the new batch of the boosted units. So this is going to be an interesting time period here where not a lot of people are going to have the boosters. And let's see how good the Assault Rumble season will be. Now, during the rule season, we have the Luffy boss and the Whitebeard boss from the previous season look to be returning. So against Luffy, it looks like Cerebral and Striker are the characters that do more damage. Against Whitebeard, Int and Striker characters do more damage. And then there is a Saint J. Garcia Satin boss during the upcoming Rumble season. And it looks like Dex characters will do more damage and Revolutionary Army. Okay, well, that's going to be a bit of a weird one. We'll have to wait and see. But it looks like it is going to be a quick focus boss. So it'll be interesting to see what it'd be interesting actually just overall what are the characters that are going to be alongside Saturn, unless if it's Saturn by himself. We'll have to wait and see. It says all bosses will take more damage from Paramecia characters and child tag characters. Okay, because obviously we have the new Yamato and Otama character. That character is classified as a child character, so there's that. And then there is a Grand Party season coming up, and it looks like the buffs are focused on if you have a Logia, Roger Pirates, or Rocks Pirates leader. And then also, so if you have one of those leaders, the quick type teammates get a buff, and then Fighter and Striker get buffs. Okay, it's going to be interesting. So Rocks Pirates, Roger Pirates, and Logia. So Logia, I mean, obviously none of the Luffy's are under Logia type, versus Kaido is not a Logia type. Versus Kaido is also not a Rocks Pirate, so I think we'll have to wait and see what's going to be the best way forward here. There are obviously a couple of Logias that you could use, but none that come to mind immediately that are like amazingly good GP leaders. But obviously the new Roger and the Rocks Pirates are going to be probably where people are going to be using their GP leaders, because if you do, you end up getting quite a substantial amount of buffs. You also get reduced requirements for your burst skill and an additional burst skill. Because of the sheer amount of damage through defense that people typically use in Grand Party, I have found that J. Garcia Satin was a phenomenal character to use in last season. We'll have to wait and see if he's going to be good in this season, considering he's not going to be receiving all of the buffs for your team. Now, one thing that we do know as well is that the PKA character for this month is going to be the Summertime Boa Hancock. We did see the artwork previously. I talked about it when we had the batch data download. and we didn't really understand. I thought that all those three were going to be rare recruits, but no, the Boa Hancock is going to be free to play, and she will super evolve obviously in the upcoming treasure map. And then the rare recruits are Ulti and Perona, which we're going to talk about very, very briefly. So let's go ahead and get into these rare recruits. The first one here is the Perona, who is a Psi Cerebral Striker. And she, for her captain ability, is doesn't really have a good captain ability. Psi Strength buff, heal the crew. Yeah, nothing really too crazy there with the captain ability, but the special ability looks pretty interesting. Reducing all enemies' damage reduction, Rainbow Shield by 6 turns, and also allowing you to heal 2 times above your HP limit for 3 turns. So for 3 turns, you get an overheal buff. The reason why this is good is because, number one, it's a striker character that gives you an overhealing buff for multiple turns, and obviously if you guys have gone ahead and used J. Garcia Satin in Treasure Cruise, to use his EX Super, you need to have either an attack buff that is over the value of 8x, which is pretty difficult to do, unless if you're running double Satin, then it's easy to achieve, but if you're running one Satin on your team, it's actually pretty difficult to get that. The other thing is that you can use an overhealing buff, and if you have that on your team, it will automatically activate the EX Super of Satin. And I do believe it counts for the Rocks Pirates as well, for their EX Super. If you have an overhealing buff, it allows them to trigger their EX Super. So this Perona might be a really good character for just ease of use for the striker teams moving forward. So you get the Rainbow Shield removal, you get overhealing for 3 turns, and then if you have healed beyond 20,000 or more when you launch the special, then your Psi and Strength characters get a 2.5 orb boost for 3 turns, and if you've overhealed 40,000 or more, then it's a 2.75 times for 3 turns. And then it says if you've healed over 100,000 HP, which is basically never going to happen, it will further increase your attack boost by 0.4. That's kind of interesting, actually. So I guess it is interesting because it says if you've healed 20k, you get a 2.5 orb boost, but then if you heal 40k, you get an attack boost. And then if you heal 100k, it will buff the attack boost even further. So I'm going to assume that if you've healed at least 40,000, you get both the attack and the orb boost. That would make sense. That's kind of interesting, actually. Although I just don't know how achievable this is going to be in most normal content, because like 20k is pretty difficult to get that much heal beyond your max HP, and then even 40k is a bit more of a stretch, unless of course you have a dedicated character to give you a ton of additional healing. Again, that could potentially, give us a hint towards the fact that maybe a Shirahoshi and Manchuri might actually get a 6+, because they can actually provide substantial amounts of healing, so that would actually make a ton of sense. I think this character is a pretty decent unit overall, just to basically be an enabler for Rocks Pirates and Satin, I think. So what else does she have? She heals additional HP if you consume a recovery slot, which is basically useless. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a good support either, which would have been interesting. And this character actually has Rumble abilities. That's kind of fascinating. So the Rumble ability gives buffs to Psi-type and Cerebral characters, giving them defense and HP. And then it says Dex-type Straw Hat enemies get level 7 attack down. Dex-type Straw Hat enemies. That's oddly specific. I don't think it's very useful, because if you're going up against a Dex team, most Dex teams don't really use any Straw Hats. I guess the extent would probably extend all the way to Super Tandem Luffy, maybe. And maybe Sober Mask would probably count as well. So I think it's a bit of a weird one there. And then if you have 3 or more Straw Hat enemies, self HP 6 and defense 5, it's pretty whatever. 25 CT special ability that gives an attack buff to Psi and Cerebral. And then Dex type Straw Hat enemies get a 100% chance of half defense. I mean, it's cool, but again, oddly specific, having to focus around Dex Straw Hats. So yeah, probably not a character you're going to see too often, but as I said, like, the special of this unit is essentially like an enabler for Satin and Rocks, and that's about the extent that I see. The fact that she does remove Rainbow Shield with her special is cool, but at the same time, if you end up wanting to use Satin, Satin has a special that removes Rainbow Shield completely on the enemy side of the field, so it does make that effect of Perona relatively redundant. Obviously, it depends on where that Rainbow Shield would show up, but either way, a little bit of a weird one, but Perona's just seems okay. And then the secondary rare recruit is going to be the Summertime Ulti, who is a Strength Striker powerhouse, so more striker support. So her special ability will remove damage threshold by 6 turns. It locks your crew slots for 2 turns. That doesn't happen too often. Most characters that lock slots are typically 1 turn. 2 turn orb lock is very rare. it changes this character's own slot into recovery, and then boosts the amount healed when a character uses a recovery slot by 1.5 on the first used slot, and then a 2 times recovery boost on the second used slot, and then 2.5 times on the third used slot, and all other slots used consecutively for 3 turns. Very, very weird effect. Essentially, it's like a snowballing effect, so the more recovery slots you are consuming, the more you are healing off of those recovery slots. It's a very weird effect. Furthermore, it says it will boost color affinity of your crew by 1.75 times for 8 turns. Okay, and you can also buff that 2 times, so the fact that the color affinity can be buffed for so much, and it lasts 8 turns, that's kind of crazy. And then it also reduces this character's special charge time by 9 turns. And then after 3 turns, further increases your color affinity by 0.25. And then after 2 turns, further buff it again by 0.25. The special charge time from this special can only be activated once. So I guess you use it really early on in your content, the color affinity lasts forever, and then you will eventually get further and further buffed, which it'll eventually become a 2.25 times color affinity boost. The recovery situation that she has going on here is kind of odd. I'm not really a big fan of this whole effect. Just getting a ton of healing out of it. I guess what they want you to do is with this whole batch, it's all based around getting so much overhealing. So with this batch, you would use this special very, very early on so that you can get a ton of recovery healed, and then there'd be effect to get a full board of recovery slots with one of the other captain effects or whatever it is. And then because this character locks those slots for 2 turns, in those 2 turns or 3 turns potentially, when you have that full board of recovery slots and the special ability here of Ulti, you're going to be healing for so much freaking HP. The color affinity lasts for a long time as well. And then eventually the color affinity will be further buffed, so when you reach the boss, this effect is going to be increased. I see the situation that they're trying to go for here, but there's not too many situations where this effect is actually going to be good. I think the best thing is, though, 6 turns of threshold removal is very good, the 2-turn all block also very good, and then the ton of color affinity could also be very useful. That's basically her extent of her usefulness. Artwork looks really cool on the ulti as well. And the effects here, she does reduce her own special charge time by 8 turns at the start of the quest. That does make a lot of sense, so allowing her to basically use her special almost immediately when you start the content. And then no useful support. She does have a rumble ability, again very similar to Perona. It is focused around Dex and Straw Hats, which is again not really that useful, so I don't really think we really need to discuss this all that much. Yeah, this is not very good, so you're not going to be using the ulti or the Perona in Rumble. So let's move on. This is the free-to-play character of the month. It's going to be Boa Hancock, and of course, as I said, she will be super evolving when we get the treasure map. So she is a strength cerebral free spirit. Her captain ability will give them the strength and psi characters a recovery boost, and boosting their attack between 3.75 to 4.25 based on the amount that you healed in the previous turn. Boost chances of recovery slots appearing and make them matching. Nothing too crazy, so hopefully she has some good abilities elsewhere. Her special sets enemies defense to 0 for 1 turn. I like that. It doesn't go through immunity, so hopefully maybe in the 5+ she has an ability to do that. She also inflicts love status for 5 hits on each enemy, and then heals the crew by 20,000 HP. Reduces bind duration by 2 turns, multiplied by the number of recovery slots used in battle, up to a number of 10 slots, 10 turns. So meaning it reduces bind by 2 turns, and then it multiplies it by the number of recovery slots you've consumed. So if you've consumed 5 recovery slots, 5 times 2 equals 10. But what this does mean is that if you use the special and you haven't consumed any recovery slots, it doesn't remove any bind at all. So that could be a little bit of an awkward situation there. It also applies a -7% strength and psi resistance multiplied by the number of recovery slots consumed, up to a max of -70%. A 70% resistance down is very good, but once again, you have to consume 10 recovery slots in order to get this -70% for 1 turn. So hopefully we'll see maybe a little bit of a buff. Maybe the requirements will be reduced when she does get the super evolution, but it doesn't seem that great, all things considered. Just the fact that it's so focused around the recovery slots means that her usability in a lot of other teams outside of this month's batch is going to be very low. So we'll have to wait and see. Crewmate ability is nothing crazy. Sets left column slots to recovery at the start of the quest. I guess that is kind of useful, actually. Her sailor ability does allow you to consume 3 recovery slots straight off the bat, so that at least you'll get what is it, 3 times 2, so you get 6 turns of bind removal, and then you'll get 21% resistance down for strength and psi. Okay, at least she does have the ability to generate some of the slots for you. That does make a lot of sense. So that's good. I like that. She has Barry Pierce, pinch healing, and then the recovery HB amount down effect, no useful support effect, and then a rumble special that allows you to paralyze enemies and also special bind them within a small range. That's cool. It's a 100% chance of that special bind occurring. And then she just gives buffs to strength characters. So I think Boa definitely has potential with a 6+ or 5+ to potentially add some more effects into that special ability, and especially if that special allows you to set enemy defense to 0 that could potentially go through immunity. I don't think that's going to happen. You don't see defense down that goes through immunity by 100% all that often, mainly because it's an extremely broken ability, but we will have to wait and see. But overall, I'm not really the biggest fan of the summertime batch because it just seems these characters are so like reliant on each other to actually work, meaning that if you don't actually end up pulling certain units of this batch, it does make using them a lot worse, and like trying to use these characters outside of their own dedicated batch is very, very difficult, and overall just makes the characters just kind of poorly designed, because yes, if you use them in their own batch they can kind of work, but they only work against very specific pieces of content, and that's kind of the issue that I see here. Anyways, that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.